going to be starting with Tyson Fury's bid to achieve superstardom. I mean, some out there will say he's already there. Frank Warren among them, if he's watching this. He's already landed in Saudi, has Warren. I spoke to him briefly earlier. But yeah, Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou, king of heavyweight boxing against king of heavyweight MMA. A lot of people think they already know what the result's going to be. But as we keep getting reminded from not just Frank Warren, but Big John Fury and plenty of others, usually involved with the promotion, it has to be said, anything can happen when you put these guys from separate codes in against each other. Ayman, what do you make of the whole thing? I asked you off camera how big an event, how big a splash you expected this to make, and you were pretty positive about it.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be a huge event, regardless of promotion aside or promoters aside, their speak and things like that. You have legitimately got two of the biggest fighters in their respective fight classes fighting and squaring off against each other for the old adage of the baddest man on the planet, with Mike Tyson in the mix there. Tyson Fury, no doubt, as boxing fans, we know his ability and skill and what he's been before and what he's come to now and how he can promote a fight. Then you've got Francis Ngannou. I think he still stands as, obviously he's no longer in the UFC promotion, having left Dana White to see this opportunity and see more opportunities and get more money for him. They're obviously not very well paid for fighting in the UFC there, which is an ongoing issue, but
sorry, Dana, if you're watching.
Yeah, sorry, Dana, doff my cap to you. Great event over the weekend, though, to be fair to them. But look, he was the last reigning heavyweight UFC champion and a real absolute killer in the ring. It's just whether he can translate into the square ring as opposed to the octagon against Tyson Fury. Now, a couple of little slight things. I think it's going to be a great event, but just to note as well, Francis Ngannou isn't a complete novice when it comes to lacing on the boxing gloves. He has sparred the likes of, I believe, Joseph Parker and Joe Joyce in the past there. So they've had that experiences together. So he's not a complete nobody in the ring, but we'll see when he's coming up against Tyson Fury as somebody in the ring, whether he can shine on a real big occasion.
All right, let's get to some of your comments. Keep them coming throughout the show. Ainsley Shand, remember you from last week, says Fury's the cash cow like Canelo. Who's the biggest star, though? Frank Warren says it's Fury. I'm not convinced on a global scale just yet. S. Clayton, I'm assuming that stands for Simon Clayton, whether it's the real one or not, the fugitive from justice. We don't know, but he's giving me a thumbs up, so I appreciate that regardless. Troubleshooter Freddie says, you've got the two perfect clickbait names for that title, haven't you? Well, yeah, it's kind of our job. But also, they are making news this week. I don't think it can be classed as clickbait because Anthony Joshua is making noise about various things, including going into a darkened room and changing trainers and maybe still fighting Wilder later this year or early next year. I don't know if any of that will happen, except the darkened room, because he seems to already be on the verge of that, as we've seen from social media, which kind of negates the thing about going off the grid. But we'll get to that. S. Clayton says, shit show on Saturday with the exception of Wardley Adelaide. We will be talking about the undercard of Fury and Ngannou. But yeah, I was at the press conference last week. For Wardley Adelaide. They had their own press conference before they flew out to Saudi, which is pretty cool. And that was a real fun press conference as well. A lot of back and forth after their infamous brawl at the red carpet event. So we'll see how that one pans out. But I agree, it's a very good fight. Although I quite like Bakoli Takam as well in terms of entertainment value. Ainsley Shand again says it will be massive, even though it's garbage. It's a very succinct way of putting it. Maybe that would have been an alternative headline. Where are we? Theme says, how sustainable is the Saudi model? We can talk a bit about that shortly. Let's have a look. Tony Lyon says, Fury ain't the cash cow. Well, this will be a real test, won't it? I guess, of Fury's commercial pulling power. So we'll find out. And then Ainsley Shand is asking Tony, who is the cash cow? I mean, I think this will show us just how much Fury can translate his infamy, popularity. You know, we've seen the books, the bestsellers, the Netflix series. He's looked to cross over into different areas a number of times in the past couple of years. He is, you know, world champion. He's not undisputed, of course. So he got one of the four major belts, Usyk having the rest. But he is the most talked about heavyweight. He has got the highest profile, you'd have to say at this point. And he is selling out stadiums, or stadia, if you prefer, in the boxing community against not necessarily, you know, a huge commercial attraction opponents. So you'd have to believe that if Fury is to fight an Usyk in the undisputed fight or Joshua, it'd be even bigger commercial attraction in fights like that. So against Francis Ngannou, I think that's more the unknown area, how commercially successful, because I don't think he's got a chance in the ring, just to foreshadow my prediction from later. But I think as a commercial attraction, how big was he in UFC? How big is he now? He's left UFC and he doesn't have that machine behind him. How much can he match Fury in terms of talking up the fight and the back and forth and doing the crazy stunts out and about during fight week? A lot of that will dictate how well this fight performs on pay-per-view, and some of that reflected or ancillary benefit will be given to Fury. So we shall see. Ayman, what do you think about who's the cash cow?
No, the cash cow for me is Tyson Fury for sure. I think Francis Ngannou, look at with if I remember correctly, with Francis Ngannou pay-per-view fights or cards which Fury, Ngannou was on, they had to kind of put quite a few big fights on the undercard too with the cards that he headlined on. And with Tyson Fury, like you mentioned there, with other with the fights that he's had recently, especially the last couple of fights where it was in the later throes of winter in the UK, where people still came out to fill out arenas or stadiums, like we said, to go watch him. We're looking at someone who really has a bona fide resume of being able to draw people into watching a fight with him. So of the two, look, I think it's definitely Tyson Fury is the one who's the real draw here, especially as well when it comes to being on the mic too. Francis Ngannou kind of does his thing in the ring as well, as opposed to Fury. He's not really one who he'll bite back a little bit on the microphone, but he's not really going to cut the WWE style promo that Fury can do in the build up. So I tend to imagine that those sort of moments will be a bit more muted. I can't remember where the first press conference happened here in the UK. The second one will happen over in Saudi Arabia. And I don't think too many risks will be taken to want to upset the apple cart with some behavior to sell fights that we often see over this side or in the USA. I think there'll be a lot more respect shown in the lead up. We've had our, if anything was going to go about, we've had that opportunity. Now time for respect and last throws of the build up before those pay-per-views come in. Let's also just to remember as well, in the UK, these are two fighters who appeared on BT and now TNT Sports. So very familiar to the UK audience. I'll imagine the UK buyers who are going to be subscribing or going to be buying this event know the capabilities of both fighters here, which is an added ingredient as well, that they've seen these two fighters before, that have seen these two fighters want to clash. And I want to throw something out, a question quickly to the people in the chat too. We're writing off Francis Ngannou in this fight. And look, you've got reason to write off Francis Ngannou, but is that because of the greatness of Tyson Fury? We've seen Fury had a couple of dents in him, but he's always risen from those dents. Would you be saying the same thing? Would you be writing off Francis Ngannou should Anthony Joshua find himself in the ring this weekend against Francis Ngannou? Let me know in the comments.